Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review The Windmill Massacre. This isn't hell, this is Holland.
Directed by Nick Jongerius, starring Charlotte Beaumont and Noah Taylor. The Windmill Massacre is about a bunch of tourists getting on a bus and going around Holland. And they're looking for windmills. I don't know if windmills are a huge thing in Holland or not, but that's what they're doing. Unfortunately, this is a bus full of sinners, and they have to overcome their inner demons so that they aren't taken to hell, because there's a big ass slasher guy killing everybody who's a sinner. So what do we like?
I really like this story, and I enjoy the idea that they're playing with sins and atonement. It's something that isn't played out a lot in horror films. Like, it's a theme, but not a common theme, and I feel it's underappreciated, and it worked well in this movie because there was a strong reason for them to be trapped at this windmill.
Yeah, essentially the windmill is the gates of hell. And so they either need to atone right now or die by the hands of this gatekeeper. But there's only one gatekeeper in my eyes.
The gatekeeper!
And what's nice about this structure is you actually get to care for the characters, you're interested in their backstories, because as you start to learn one character, you're trying to figure out why that other person that's sneaking around is there. Because is that guy a killer or is he just an innocent man? You don't know. And so you're constantly trying to figure out who's sinning so that you know who's gonna die.
I really felt that how they came about discovering they needed to atone for their sins was subtle, that the audience would get it, and it wasn't in your face for the characters. And when people don't know it in the movie, it makes the guessing game, it makes like the story more interesting because you're looking at the characters differently and you're trying to like reach out to them and get more involved in the film. And they did a good job with that.
And that's like a common thing when it comes to horror movies. Like, as much as you hate the douchebags and you hate the people making wrong decisions, it's part of the charm of horror movies because as the audience, you're having a better time yelling at the screen like, what the fuck are you doing going up to this crazy ass windmill? Don't go into that forest and look into that hallucination. You're gonna die. So you have a lot of kind of those kind of moments. So I think this is a good film to watch with some friends because you're definitely gonna yell at the screen a little bit. All of the cinematography throughout the film was fantastic. We have really cool aerial shots of Holland, and even just the regular camera work when people are interacting with each other just looks excellent.
On top of that, we had fantastic lighting. They did a more natural lighting. Like, the film takes place more in the evening, and it was very well lit, and I was surprised by that because, again, this is a lower budget film, and considering that they're shooting at night and where they were, you could see everything. And it was very crisp and very clear. And this film is not short on the kills. We've got enough of a cast that people can die off and you can care about them, and when you see them, they look great. It's nice because he's using one body and getting the most out of it.
And you'll find out that he has to keep that darn windmill running. Now let's move on to our dislikes. Everything was going great up until like the last 15 minutes of the movie where they started using cheesy ass visual effects. And that's unfortunate because everything was so good from the acting to the production value, and you just see some shit go down that looks terrible. You can't redeem it at that point. Unfortunately, the visual effects house like just dropped the ball.
This is an odd dislike, but I wanted more from this movie. It definitely was like the proper runtime, but it didn't feel like it was the proper runtime. And I think a lot of that has to do with how the characters were finished off. Because there's so much questions, there's so much as to what is their sin, what is their backstory. We only get like a little taste of it, and then they die. And it's disappointing because we want to know more. And I think this film is one of those films that they could have given us more. It was a very unbalanced film when it came to developing the characters. They gave us a lot of like 3 and then teased us with the other 3.
This is kind of like a smaller dislike. I think they could have really used some better sound effects when it came to some of the impacts and the hits that characters received or gave. There are some times where people would get like punched or they'd be beating something and then you don't really hear anything. Like, there was better sound effects when a guy was eating some sloppy Joe in the fucking truck. but you can't hear a girl beating a guy to death with a bone. So I really thought they could have amped that up a little bit to really drive a kill home.
I really liked the killer in this movie, and I felt that he just wasn't on screen enough. The interactions were just kind of him creeping and like watching these people while they revisit their sins, and that was kind of it.
I mean, at least when Michael Myers is watching from a distance and he's doing that thing, there's always a struggle, there's always a chase. They certainly should have had some kind of confrontation, because everybody just kind of looks at the guy and dies, or doesn't look at the guy and gets stabbed in the back. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. I really enjoyed the Windmill Massacre. It was a surprising slasher. I really liked all of the characters. I liked our villain, I liked the kills, and I just like the story. There's not too much to dislike about this movie other than the fact that they could have added more time to it. I genuinely hope that they make more to this series because I think we have potential for a pretty sweet slasher. So I'm gonna give this 4 sweet little innocent boys out of 5.
Innocent, sweet little boy.
The Windmill Massacre is a very good film. We had great characters, we had an amazing location, and we had an interesting story. And we had such an interesting story that they could play off of it and they can continue it. There's great kills and there's a cool killer in this movie, and all the situations, they're relatable and they're enjoyable. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this movie 4 poorly drawn windmills out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And I hope you guys have been enjoying all the shit we've been putting out this whole month. It's been crazy. I know it's hard to keep up with, but don't worry, you can go back and watch it all. But we're not done yet. We're gonna keep rocking it out until October 31st, and then also November 1st because that's a Tuesday and we drop a video that day too. So holy shit. We got a lot more coming, so subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, I'll see you tomorrow.